Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Poor Choices Dadcast episode 4 with
Woo!
Tugs and myself, of course, and Kelley Jones. Welcome back.
Welcome. Thank you. It was a lot of fun last time. Had a blast.
You are our second reoccurring guest with the Dadcast, and I kind of love it. I love it.
And he's got the Lord's chicken. I see the Lord's chicken in your cup.
The Lord's chicken.
Yeah.
I'm worried. I'm
Chicken.
worried because Tugs' his hair is up, so I'm a little worried.
Oh yes. Forgot.
I'm a little worrid.
It's not in my bun though. It's in a ponytail. Everybody probably should be worried. I don't wear it in a ponytail
I'm a
much
little
anymore.
worried. It's a bad time, bad omen.
In reality, I just haven't washed my hair in a day or two.
Okay.
That's my excuse. I'm sticking to it.
Did you ask Duke if hair up meant bad business?
I did not. I should have. I didn't.
I asked Mark, and he's like, "Oh, I know what that means," and I was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh no."
I don't think that I'm a good candidate for that because I always 99% of the time my hair is up and in my messy bun. Like that's my signature look. So I feel like if I wear my hair down in my particular personal case, that means because I never wear my hair up or wear my hair down ever. So that might be why. I don't know.
You might want to try. Just see the difference. Just
see what happens.
Like all of a sudden the world opens up to you and people are going, "What?"
The world is my oyster when my hair is down.
Yeah. I will say it hurts less having my hair down versus up. I'll do a low ponytail every now and then and maybe clip my hair, but I hate having my hair
It
up.
hurts me less when Lindsay.
Somewhere off camera, Lynn was like, "Where's my scrunchie?"
I'll pay.
Before we begin, we have Ken Burrows for 5 Canadian saying X-ray girl and Tugs, you beautiful ladies. How are you doing? We're doing well. Oh, I'm doing well. Tugs, I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well. I'm having an allergy problem because of the wind, but other than that, doing great.
Thank you very much, Ken, for the donation. But yeah, so essentially I had a couple things in my head, and especially because now it's Halloween and apparently I didn't notice that your background didn't change. I was just like, oh my god, Halloween decorations is great. Pumpkins, by the way.
I got my pumpkin pillow over here.
Fun. I just had some questions. Oh, Lynn in the chat says hair is definitely up now. Things are getting spicy in the Jones
Yes, they are.
But yeah, with Halloween coming around, we got a little bit of like Christmas advice, but I kind of wanted to see about like Halloween advice because the main thing I always looked at, especially with Canadian trick-or-treating, was you always wore a jacket underneath your costume because it was cold. That's the only advice I have. Always try to get a costume that's a little bit poofy. But I don't know, with kids, when did you guys have to do things like check your candy or be careful which house you go to, or at what age is it okay to let them go and trick or treat by themselves, things like that?
Well, when it came to Halloween, I wanted them to have as much fun as possible because when I was a kid, Halloween was my favorite holiday simply because you could go out and get candy. You know, it wasn't all the spooky stuff and everything. That was fun. But you got to go out and get candy. And what I found is you don't have to worry about, checking the candy or anything like that, other than to make sure you pull from their bags the ones you want before they get up. That was our main thing.
Ooh, so that, hey, note to self.
That was all. But no, I think the fun part is them getting excited to get dressed up. You get a bunch of their friends together. We would all take them out, let them go for until their little legs got tired. And then we would come back and do a party.
A party after trick-or-treating?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's how to do it right there.
That's when you did the party, was afterwards.
The adults partied afterwards.
Well, and the kids would hang in there until the sugar and the walking put them to sleep.
And then they'd go right to bed.
And they would, but the excitement would really run them down. No, it was. I always have to say that it was a favorite holiday around here, and generally for most of the kids. Reason, they got to choose what they wanted to be. They got to go in a big crowd. We always go in a big crowd just because that's fun, and you'd pick the neighborhoods that were really excellent.
Oh yeah, we did the same thing. We always went to the rich neighborhood.
Yeah, you did. You always go to those, and it was a blast. I mean, it. And then when they start going on their own, then that's where you get all your other parent friends together, and you just hang out that day. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. It's very interesting because I feel like there's this inherent mistrust to children these days. And I guess it's a judgment, of course, of when you're going to let the kids go off on their own. But I saw this like crazy shoe advertisement where you could put the AirTag, like the Apple AirTag, in at the bottom of one of the kids' shoes.
There's a lot of money in paranoia. There's crazy. A huge amount of money in paranoia and fear. When I was a kid, we went in a big group. Nothing really changed. It's like all the kids got together. I mean, when you're really young, your mom and dad or whatever older sibling would go. And then once you get to make friends with, or the kids make friends with other kids, then the parents tend to say, well, we'll all just go together. And, some of the parents would bring adult beverages and you just go walking while they do their little candy tricks. And then, like I said, and then you make a point that you have some kind of a hoedown back at the ranch, and it's a blast. That. I mean, that's what we used to do. And then I would go and make big thing of spare ribs and whatever.
Ooh,
and everyone come back and we just eat, have kids go bonkers, and just enjoy it. Really, and just enjoy it.
I love that. If I have kids, I'm definitely bringing a roadie.
You will have kids. You're going to have about 4.
Wow. I like the specific number.
I see it. I'm like, I can see 4 kids. 2 of them are going to be twins.
Ooh.
We don't even have twins in the family. That would be kind of cool.
Did you know, speaking of, so I worked with a girl when I worked at the Venetian Hotel who was 34 when she got pregnant with her first kids. And 34? Yeah, 34. And she had twins. She does not have history of twins in the family, and neither does the father. And the doctor told her, he was like, the older you get, your eggs start to drop at a different rate. And he goes, you'll see twins occur more in women who are older because their eggs are dropping at a different rate. And so it's more likely that it's more likely.
Were they little girls or little boys?
Girls. 2 girls.
See? Mm-hmm. Always it's that. Yeah.
It's always the twin girls.
Whatever that karma was, she had to pay, man. She had to pay.
That's probably true too.
God, if I have twin girls, I must have had really bad karma. I don't know if I can handle it. Tugs, you want one?
Sure, I'll take one.
Yeah, just pass them around.
Yeah.
I'll hand them out like Halloween candy.
Yeah, like any extras, I got it. I'll be the lady. My parents on Halloween, as we got older, when we were little, they would go with us, but as we got a little bit older, they would sit out on the driveway, like with the neighbors. All the neighbors would sit out in the driveways, and they would have beers and pass out candy that way. And we would go off, and we would come back, and it was fun.
Oh yeah. I wish I could be one of those people with the houses that are severely decorated, like over the top.
Terrified of those houses.
Oh,
you'll do it.
I just don't have the energy and the storage for it. So we got pumpkins. We're happy with that.
Yes, pumpkins are good. If it's only pumpkins, that's good.
Yeah. I have like my little ones, and I'm going to carve the pumpkins probably next week. That's something I actually learned, because you guys don't have. Do you have pumpkins in California?
Oh my God! Yeah, we grow them all here.
No,
What do you think they only grow in Canada?
Everything that can grow is grown in California.
Okay,
Everything.
so in Florida, I saw no pumpkins outside anyone's house.
But the humidity rots them.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it's only indoors.
And you don't know what kind of poisonous lizard will crawl in one. So
There's a guy. Oh my gosh! I went for a run the other morning. There's a guy across the street in my RV park that's growing pumpkins. I was so excited. I was like, "Oh my god!" Yeah. I wanted to take one.
Yeah, Lynn and I live near a pretty big pumpkin patch. That's where we go buy them.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe it's just they're not outside the house. Got it. I got it.
Yeah.
I'll put my ignorance and keep it in Canada.
No, we're at least in US for the most part. That's one thing everybody agrees with is Halloween. They all, unless there's those few say you can't dress like this, you can't dress like that, but we ignore those people. Yeah. Halloween's a big deal. And actually, as you get older, when I was a kid, it was just the kids. Now that I'm my age, it's the adults who dig it the most.
Yeah, because you get to scare the crap out of everybody. I remember my mom one year dressed up as a scarecrow and like she sat in a chair. She had a big bowl of candy in her lap, and like the little kids, she'd like, no, it's okay. But the older kids, she would just sit there, and they would like kick her and nudge her with a foot, like to see if she was a dummy, and she wouldn't move. And then they would go to reach for, the candy, and she'd be like, rah! And oh my god, she got some high school jock kids to absolutely pee their pants. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I'm a peer I pee my pants when I was at that age too, because all of a sudden you get. I couldn't sit through the movie Alien. I did, but it was only because there was the couple sitting next to me. I was with a friend of mine, and I did not know. I went there thinking, oh, it's like Star Wars or something. It's like Aliens. That would be nice.
Oh no!
And, space, no one can hear you.
Scary.
It's Star Wars.
And I did. It was 15 minutes in. It was like, I want out of here. I want to go home. But I couldn't because sitting right next to me was probably a 5-foot tall cheerleader girl with her football playing husband or boyfriend. And she was telling him, it's just a movie. Don't worry about it. It's just a movie through the whole thing. So I know I can't leave because now I'm humiliated. Because this little tiny cheerleader, like during the worst moments, she goes, it's just a movie because he's freaking out.
Yeah,
I'm
it's not
like hanging on.
Fine.
Yeah. It was like 10 years till I could watch that movie again.
Oh, at what age would you show a scary movie like that to your kids?
My youngest could handle them from a very early age. Loved them. Would ask to watch them again. And I mean scary stuff like The Thing or The Shining or
they're really scary.
Scary ass stuff. And I used to think, I used to think, okay, now my oldest, he would have no, he wouldn't do it. Right. And I let them make the call when they leave. Okay. I would only slightly ridicule the older one, but because it's a safe test of manhood. Right. I went through it. I was terrified the whole time. But my youngest was weird because he could watch those and eat vegetables at like 5 years old. He loved bell peppers, like raw bell peppers and radishes.
That is a strange,
very strange
for a young child.
Yeah, he had his savory taste buds kicked in early, and he liked spicy stuff and avocados and
that's
all the stuff all the stuff I would avoid. I wouldn't eat. But he always did. So he was my horror film buddy. Even when he was little, I get looks when we'd take him to go see horror films. But he could handle them. He loved them. He still loves them.
Yeah.
I think scary movies are funny. Although Paranormal Activity
oh my god,
legitimately
that one got
scary.
Me. They
Have
don't
you
usually
seen that?
get me. They don't usually get me. That one got me. I could not sleep properly for about a week afterwards on that one, and I can handle.
When I first got with Lynn, she could handle the classic old stuff fine, but I would watch some new stuff or whatever really freaky things, and she would run from room to room from the TV. when I have the TV on. She didn't want to hear it. She'd yell at me from another room saying she could hear it still. I can still hear it.
Oh,
So
no.
I would turn it up louder. But
And that's why she put her hair up.
that's well, it made her hair go up. But now she watches them more than I do. I mean,
What?
Yep. We go to the openings of a lot of these pretty creepy horror films, and she's always finding them. I'll give her that. She's kind of passed me up on the horror film thing.
Oh.
Wow.
I
Wow.
still like my old classics.
Who doesn't? They're the best. I need some new recommendations. I watched the
you
new
should-
Talk to Me. That one was pretty good, actually. The new
Saw
was
10
good.
is out if you want to watch that.
That was a good one. We went. I actually took Duke with me. He's not a big
Ah.
horror movie person, but I took him with me, and he was like, "That actually was not as bad as I thought it was gonna be." I'm like, "See."
Yeah. Like I
That was a good one.
rewatched Saw 1 and all I could think was, I can't believe I watched this at my young age whenever it came out.
I've been
And
going every
I was
year.
like,
Every
this
year
is
they
funny.
come out. I've been
It's
going to the
breaking.
theater. I love them. I love those movies.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah. I love Halloween. It really was a magical time when I was a
It was.
kid. I loved
Oh,
the candy so much. And it's such a weird thought. Like, you literally go up to a door, say trick or treat, and are like begging for candy. And
Yeah,
people
from a
just give it to you.
stranger, which we're not supposed to. All we're told as we're kids, like I don't know about you guys, but I grew up like don't take candy from strangers. Like that was the thing.
Well,
But
except for this
Halloween,
holiday.
it's fine.
Very,
For this day.
very good advice for young girls is
Yeah.
do not take anything from anyone ever.
Except for on Halloween.
Okay, that's just good girl raising
Mhm.
logic. But on the one night where everyone's expected to, it's
yeah,
okay.
on the one night where everybody's wearing a mask and you can't identify anybody, that's the time
Right.
you want to take
That's
candy
the
from
time.
strangers.
Well, but what did you? Okay, but you probably dressed what, like little princesses and ice queens, and
I was a
okay,
Power Ranger, yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. There you
Mhm.
go. There you go. What were you, X-Ray girl? What was your favorite?
Favorite as a kid? Hmm.
What costume was the one you said, yeah, that's it? It's got to be a princess thing.
I feel like it probably was. No, I did. I did a couple. Well, I did Mulan. Haha, chat. I know. But I loved it
Mulan.
as a
Well, you
kid.
saved money. That was one to save money on, though. So
Yeah.
okay.
I definitely did Pocahontas. I don't think you could do that nowadays.
Oh, watch me.
I think that yeah, I remember most of the girls dressed up as something fun, something pretty, something, that was normal. And the boys would try to get away with as much as they could with being gross.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Or
We used to
weird
go-
or different and
Yeah. I
but
love
me
that.
and
I
my
miss
brother
those
did
days.
Batman one year.
I once had my oldest son dress as Frankenstein, and it
Oh.
was since it was classic.
Yeah.
And I told him, you'll get more candy than anyone else doing
Yeah.
that. And he
Oh.
did. He got his little pillow sack was full because everyone was happy to see Frankenstein again.
Yep. You
And
go
at
in
that point-
different.
Next year, he wanted to be Dracula, but it was those kind of things wherever they can get, whenever you hit a classic, it's like a Beatles song. Everyone knows
Everyone
it.
knows it, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And if
I
you do a
know,
good
I
job
love
at it,
They
mhm.
will reward you with big Hershey
Oh
bars.
yeah. Or if you have
Yeah.
the parents, we usually see them on social media, like they go all out with the kids, like the whole family is themed.
Oh, it's
Like
a
if you-
family costume.
Yeah, like a family, like the Munsters walking down the street. It was like, yep, that's cute. You get extra candy. I love those. They're always my favorite. And then we went trick or treating when I was a kid. Back when I was a kid, Arnold Schwarzenegger used to live here in Vegas. He had a house up on the mountain, and so we went one year trick or treating at his house. That was cool. He didn't answer the door.
I was gonna say, was he there? Giving
No,
candy?
his people were there. I don't know what he was
No,
doing.
I think he was with the maid, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
back
could
then.
be. He might have been.
Oh hot damn.
Might have been with the maid, but it was kind of cool. But yeah.
God. When I have kids, we'll go with when I have kids.
When?
We'll go to Toronto, Bridal Path, and we'll find Drake's house and whoever else is down there. Yeah, Drake lives in Toronto.
So what's the lottery on you, X-Ray girl? Next year, the year after that, what's the lottery? If we were to do the lottery,
Oh my
I'm
god.
gonna have
You guys
babies
want to take bets? You want to take
Yeah.
bets?
so
I
it's
bet
like
that I will be pregnant and have babies before you do.
Okay. So we're doing like a knock up. It's who gets knocked up lottery here, then, right?
Yeah. When do you think I'm going to get knocked up?
Mark, let's go.
I used to be so happy to say that when Lynn got pregnant. I didn't want to say we're pregnant or any of that kind of stuff. I said, guess who knocked up somebody? That's how I
Guess who still got it?
Yeah, me.
That's the best swimmers.
I think we need to do a poll in the chat.
Oh, you want to do a poll? Oh, let me finish
I have not learned how to do that yet.
I'll do it.
Tomorrow, says Jonathan.
Wow.
Four. Are you ready for 4 kids?
I'm not even ready for 1.
No, I think it's like when 1 comes, it'll be an avalanche, and it'll be every year.
Popping out.
Yeah, it'll just bang, 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 bang.
Can you imagine getting like the Irish twins? Oh my god, every time.
So and then you got to start thinking names too, because that's the important thing. If it's a little boy or a little girl, you got to start having the names ready already.
You know what? I actually had a conversation, and this is, I don't know about first names. So one of my names that I've always wanted to do was Aria, because I love music, like Aria. And then
you got to think, but extra girl, you got to always think, how do you shorten any name you give? What is it if it's shortened or nicknamed?
Ari.
So every name's got to be, what is this like? And then for the kid, does it rhyme with anything awful when they're at grammar school? So you got you start.
Oh my god! Everything has a bad rhyme. There's some particular horrible ones, but
yes, there are.
But yeah, we're gonna put middle names like someone important in our lives, like parents or grandparents or last names or something like that.
We did that. I did that. I named my youngest after my grandfather. Mm-hmm. And my father is my oldest. That's his middle name is my dad's name. So you do that. But Lynn got rid of a lot of my good names. I had for one of them it was Indiana, and that was shot down.
Indy.
Yeah, I wanted it at least as a middle name, shot down.
You should have compromised with Henry.
and it's funny because now my oldest is really now that he gets it, he goes, I wish my middle name would have been Indy. That would have been but Mom said no. Mom shot that down.
Culture ones are hard because then I would not, if I had named my kid Indiana, I just would not be able to resist throwing Indiana Jones quotes at them.
Oh my god!
Like we could have named the dog Indiana, but we named you Indiana.
If we have a boy, we're just gonna nickname the boy Short Round.
There you go.
It's not going to be a real name, but nickname, yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be the internet name for the child.
Short Round is a good name. That's a good name.
What is this? Is this English? Hugagoo? Hoolagoo?
No, I was going through. I think if you remember last time, I would go through Obsessions, and Lynn would go and find stuff for me when I was in it. And one of them then was the Mongol Empire. And there were 2 generals. Okay. There were 2 generals, Hoolagoo and Subadai. And I had once floated that idea that if it wasn't a first name, how cool would it be if they had that as a middle name? And if I had 2 boys, which I did, one was middle name Hoolagoo, the other one Subadai, who were Genghis Khan's ace generals, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought that would be cool. And I actually started to get into that idea. And Lynn makes a face where you just know that's the impenetrable wall of no.
Lynn,
and I figured, well, once she's punched him out of her system, I could go and fill in the paperwork before she could do anything about it. And then once it all got filed, it would come back to her, and out of her haze, it would be too late. But then I thought, how much would I pay for that?
How much does the hair go up at that? Yeah.
I think Hoolagoo, that was a name, right? And then if anyone made fun, you can say, here's what Hoolagoo did. Wiped out all of Baghdad, wiped out all of northern India, wiped out the Hungarians. I mean, there's a lot of wiping out he did. So
a
that's
lot
pretty
of
cool.
conquering.
Yeah, a lot of conquering.
Oh my God.
But then again, I was going through a major Mongol appreciation thing. So
Oh, you like
Short
your
into
history.
hula.
Hula.
What do you want me to do? Dress a dragon, do the hula?
Oh my gosh. We
yeah,
have
so it's called living with a comic book artist. So at that
Yeah,
point,
Us
you're
nerds
used to
have the
weird
same
names all the
problem.
time reading comics, right?
Oh, I'm
So
sure. I'm sure.
Us
And
nerds
there's
have
some like interesting weird names. I want to like Arya's too common at this point, so I don't know. We'll see.
I
We'll
was gonna
see.
say, yeah, Game of Thrones. People are gonna be like, "Oh my God!"
But
no,
oh, it was even before that.
I know.
It was before that, and yeah, it would have been funny if I like ended up with a person with the last name Stark too, because then imagine. Oh gosh.
Mark
Well,
Benjamin.
yeah,
we could
that daughter would be very angry with you later. So yes.
Probably. Probably.
That's like
She's
all
gonna
those
be like,
poor
"I'm
hippie, all
Sansa."
the poor hippie kids, you know, they were all named, you know, Honeydew and Rainbow and
Oh,
all those
geez.
kind of names. Then they had to go change them when they got older.
Ladasha.
Well, and then there's the people who name their kids Daenerys. Or
Oh.
no, Khaleesi. Wasn't even her name.
It was Khaleesi. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys know that's her title, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but
pay
they wanted
attention to the show.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Actually, I have a question. I don't know if you've ever seen this name, but try to pronounce
no.
that. And for the chat too, I'm going to show you this because I don't want to ruin it. But I've seen people name this ABCDE. But how do you pronounce it?
ABCDE.
Yeah.
Absidy?
Yeah.
Really?
Does that mean something?
No, it's
When
people's
you
names.
grow
I
up on the east side of Vegas and they get word I can't say on YouTube.
That's like someone naming their kid after their simple password. They just say password.
Yeah.
That's like I couldn't think of anything. So you're the first 5 letters of the alphabet. And
You
here's
know
your
it,
sister.
girl.
Here's your sister. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Didn't Elon do some weird thing with one of his kids?
Oh God,
Yeah.
yeah, something like that.
Marcus and Aurelius is good.
There you go, X-ray girl.
Well, Mark is Mark already, so it would be very odd to be Marcus and Mark.
Marcus and Mark.
Well, then you would say no. If with Mark, you would have his son be Commodus. That would be the son.
Commodus.
Yeah.
I've never heard that name. How do you spell
Mark
it?
II. Mark the
Mark
second.
II. I'm sure
Now
you
that
would
just sounds like an
love
Iron Man name. The Mark I, the Mark II.
Commodus. Okay. Okay.
Well, that was Marcus Aurelius's son, right?
Was it? Which
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius? Because there's a bunch of them.
The emperor,
No, there's
the
I
Stoic
swear,
emperor.
there's like 15 of them. I took a Roman history class and I had a hard time remembering
He's very
each
bitter about it.
emperor.
Everybody
Very
is
bitter.
Very
I've well, let's just say that class I did not do very well.
Was it in college?
Yeah. And it's
Did they have like a Roman numeral on the door to the class? Yeah.
no, they didn't.
Ours
Thank
did. I didn't take it, but ours did.
You got to learn how to
Just
read those.
Go in there, hail Caesar.
Oh
Why
gosh.
don't we all just stab Caesar?
Hey, we're thinking about the Roman Empire.
Wow, look at that.
There we go. First time today.
Is that the face you make when you hear it? Yeah, you can't when you hear Biggest Dickus. You can't laugh.
Oh no.
I need to watch that. Okay, there's so many things
You
I
have
need to
not
watch.
seen that movie,
No, Kelly, this is a
and you don't
this
know.
is a trend.
You don't know what Biggest Dickus's wife's name was.
I don't think I've ever
Smallest
seen
vaginist.
that either.
Incontinentia buttocks.
What?
It's the greatest comedy ever made, and you have not seen it.
No, I have not. Oh my gosh. One day. It's a trend. I don't watch a lot of stuff. I didn't watch a lot.
He has
of
a
stuff,
whole
honestly.
list that's probably about 70 years long at this
Okay.
point.
There are certain things in the world that you have now entered, X-Ray Girl, that are absolute insist upon you have to see it, and that's the Holy Grail, Life of Brian, You have to see those. They're just part of it because people are going to make jokes or references, and that's one of them
Holy
right
Grail
there.
is great. My
Yeah.
favorite part about
See,
Holy
this
Grail.
is the thing. You have a rich pop culture knowledge. So this is my want to watch and then watch. And of course, it's in mostly.
Add Monty Python and the Holy Grail to that because it's honestly.
Oh, I've already watched it. I watched it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. So I'm making my way through.
Oh, 12 Angry Men. That's a good one too. Oh, Clockwork Orange. I'm gonna save you that. Don't do it.
Oh no, you'll love it.
That
You'll
movie
love
so
Clockwork
disturbing.
Orange.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful.
So I was told to watch
it's
this for
wonderful.
Halloween, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh yeah,
That's a great one.
Ooh, Doctor Sleep. That was
yeah.
You've seen The Shining though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I haven't even seen Final Destination, but I know what one of the scenes look like. Oh, and
You've
Forbidden
never seen
Planet.
Final Destination?
Remember that?
Oh,
Nope, I haven't seen it. And I want to see Galaxy Quest, but I have to watch more Star Trek. See, there's so many things.
You have to see more Star Trek to understand Galaxy Quest.
Never give up, never surrender. Jeepers Creepers, I see it.
There's a ton. There is a ton.
Wow.
And it feels like it's so long. Like I haven't even seen Rocky.
God.
I know.
You know, the great thing is I've seen every single thing here that you're showing.
Really?
Yeah.
Me too so far.
Yeah.
Terminator. How do we not? Girl. Mark, you're failing at your job here.
Wow.
I'm working through it. I'm watching Saw right now. So I kind of wanted to rewatch it.
A big bottle of wine and you watch movies, and that's how you do it.
Are you watching all the Saws? Are you gonna watch them all the way? Like all
no, see,
I don't know.
Do it.
Should I?
Now, see, I've never seen one. I have no interest in it.
Gore? Is it the thing? You don't like gore?
I don't mind gore, but it's got to be within. I mean, I've seen everything I've seen really gory stuff. The Deadly Spawn, that's pretty gory.
Anything Eli Roth does is pretty gory.
The gore of the late 70s, early 80s was a lot worse than what you get now, but they weren't based on gore. I mean, if you see Dawn of the Dead, that's pretty gory, but then so do you see anything by the Italian director Fulci, Lucio Fulci. They're far gorier than this. He had an actress actually eat like I want to say like what is it when you eat the intestines, but it's the Scottish, what do they call it?
Haggis.
Eat something like that and then vomit it on camera while they were doing this horror scene that she was turning into a zombie or something. That kind of, at that point, that beats anything they do now.
That sounds like Eli Roth. Eli Roth's movies, I feel like
he could never get an actress to do that.
No,
How he got an actress to do
these
that.
crazy extremes sometimes in these movies. Like, what's that? Oh my god, I can't think of it now. It's one of his latest ones. Just came out a few years ago. Raw? No, I can't think of the name of it now, but it got like slammed on the internet for how gory and just unnecessary it was.
And that always surprises me because there's so much stuff from the 70s and 80s that is just brutal and unbelievably well done, but pretty awful. And so it's never gore that bothers me. It's just those things weren't predicated upon it. They were telling a story and then there'd be something awful. Dr. Butcher, MD, that's a pretty gory film. Those are I don't even make Lynn watch those because I knew there was no chance. But when they do them now just for when that's the point of it, rather than it's just an outgrowth of it, that's two different things. It's like it ventures into a territory of I know now they're doing it to do it rather than they're pushing something forward. Yeah. So I'll give them. I hate criticizing stuff I haven't seen, but that was always kind of my.
Well, I'd say the first three. The first three, the gore makes sense with what's going on, and the story is what captivated me. I've talked about this before. People are like, why do you like this movie so much? I'm like, it's not about the gore, because that is the later movies. For some reason, some moron decided that was a good idea, and it becomes barely a gore, like gore porn basically. And I don't like that. But the story behind it, to me, that's where I got hooked. Is it's like, this guy could be a real person. All these traps are real. They did the research. Like, a lot of them were used in the Spanish Inquisition. And so, like, maybe step back and go, ooh, would I be a victim of this guy? Like, do I appreciate my life and the life I'm living? Because I definitely would not survive that trap. So the first three especially are really, really good. And they're a little bit violent, but they're not anything that you...
Well, it always is like within context. There clearly there's a film you haven't seen. It's called Black Sunday from 1960. And it has one of the most horrific openings of any movie I've seen to this day.
Really?
And it's one of those that you can feel it happening. And basically, it's a woman who was caught being a sorcerer or a witch or whatever. And her brother's part of it has caught her, and they're going to execute her. But before they execute her, they get this big, heavy iron mask that's of Satan, and it's got big spikes on the inside. And they stick it up to her face, and a guy comes up with a sledgehammer, and bang, and the blood shoots out. It's freaky. And then they do the thing that's the worst part. As they pull the camera back, she's still breathing.
Oh, of course. Because
all this blood is going. And this is a black and white 1960s film. That one still... You have to get ready for that scene when it happens. It's brutal.
Wow. That's wild.
So it's not the 1970 movie that I just...
No, that's the football movie.
Wrong one.
No, it is genuinely a classic Gothic horror film.
I've definitely not seen that one.
Oh, no. I mean, they kill vampires by not putting a spike through their chest. They put a needle through their eye, and they get the camera right in there.
Oh,
it's unbelievably gruesome.
That's so wild. You think of the 60s, you don't think quite that bad.
You would think so, but it was awesome.
Wow. So your 6-year-old watched the Carpenter thing when he was hospitalized. He wanted to see Spiderhead's John Carpenter sent him a sign. What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
He watched the thing. He wanted to watch when he was in ICU. They had a VCR, so he could watch movies. And he asked for that. He didn't want cartoons or anything. He wanted the thing.
Story.
And John Carpenter's The Fog. And I brought him in.
That was good.
I had him, so I brought him in, and or a DVD player. And I didn't even think twice about what, but the cool thing was when doctors or nurses were there, then you start asking them in the thing, well, how would you find the thing? And they would start, one of the attendants started watching the movie with him because he hadn't seen it yet. And so he was like, this is pretty good. And Carter's just sitting there, he's just laying there on his back, eating a hamburger or whatever they gave him, all hooked up to these 15 machines. And he's just enjoying his movies.
That was a freaky movie.
He was 6 years old then.
He's got a strong tummy for a 6-year-old. Dang.
Right?
To him, it's again, this is a kid who was eating, I would plant green peppers and I'd get all excited to go pick one. They'd be gone and I'd see him eating them. You can't yell at a kid for eating vegetables,
No, and I love bell peppers.
You want to promote that for sure.
No, he would pick tomatoes off the plant and just start eating them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's another thing that we're missing is just letting kids play in the dirt.
Well,
there's not enough.
Luckily, my kid's father had a very embarrassing childhood of all kinds of horrible things. So I let them do everything that I did, and it worked out fine for them. They'd come in covered with dirt. As Lynn said, they were taught to pee outside. They were, they did all the boy things that you're not supposed to do, but you do. And, all the stuff moms say no to, or, they'd come in completely filthy. It used to be that my mom used to hose us off before we'd come into the house.
Decontamination.
Yeah, you just take a hose and hose you down, and then you'd come into the house and get cleaned up. So I figured, that that was healthy. You know, we used to do all
It's very
kinds of that
healthy.
crap. It was just healthy.
It's good. It builds your immune system. You're outside. You're being
Yeah.
exposed to allergens, and I think that a lot of kids don't get that. Like kids from super clean homes, their immune system is not built, and then you get compared to the story of like the milkmaids, and they are with the cows, and doing the milking, and of course they have the best immunity out of
Yeah.
anyone. So.
Yeah. They didn't get any pox. Yeah. Yeah.
We need to.
No, but that's how, when I was a kid, that's how all of us were. So, yeah, you could see the kids. I would see the kids that my children grew up with that were very insulated and protected. And yeah, they had more problems, but their problems have even extended beyond immune system. They had a hard time dealing with the world, you know? There's a lot of stuff a kid learns that isn't in a classroom, but it's at school. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm,
uh,
mhm.
and
Just
it
simple
is good for
interactions.
them. Yeah, it helps them because the real world doesn't care what all of our societal rules are. It will do what the world does. It will
Mhm.
always do that.
Yeah.
Human nature.
It's the rules, and I mean, we're seeing kind of repercussions of stuff that isn't being policed or enforced, and a lot of the uh like I heard of that, like the Targets coming out, and I feel like it's sad that a big chain store is leaving, certain places like Miami and California, and I forgot which other
Well, if
cities.
you don't, yes, California, you're hard pressed to find a department store in any big city. It's not just San Francisco. They just all left. You can find them out in the rural areas. There's police still there, and there's people don't do that kind of stuff. But you've got to drive 30, 40 miles out of San Francisco to find a Walmart or a Target or a
Oh, that's
CVS or anything.
unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't know how those people do it in those cities, you
You
know.
have to. And it used to be so fun to live in cities. Like I wanted to live in
I
a
agree.
city.
I used to love going down to San Francisco. I won't go there now. It is literally too dangerous. It's not for no other reason. It's just too dangerous.
Yeah. Sounds like some of these young adults, maybe older, who knows, needed a bit more discipline in their lives.
Well, certainly the people who decided that you can't have discipline, I don't know. I think human nature is human nature, and that never changes. It doesn't matter what we say. It always will go back to that. And so I just wanted my kids to primarily laugh at a lot of stuff too. Just
Mhm.
it's okay, rather than get all upset and worked up, just laugh at certain things.
Yeah. Humor is a great way to deal with the world. And I mean, seeing how sensitive people are about humor, and like, Chrissy Mayer, she really pushes the bounds on humor and gets canceled all the time. But I think that there's always truth into the things that end up hurting, or the idea it might hurt people, but that's part of it. People make fun of Asians in math all the time. It's not a huge deal. Whatever.
Yeah.
Just laugh
Well,
it
yeah,
off.
but I think what you find is I don't know. I think, like I said last time, my father was really cautionary about ever thinking of yourself as any kind of a victim or whatever.
Mhm.
He felt that was far more destructive than anything else, and would cripple you once you got you just he would be where you stood up for yourself. It was to be who you were. Where you let it go as if somebody said something stupid like that, you go, okay, fine, because that's
Mm.
that's no big deal. But on who you wanted to be, that was a different matter. Then you did stick up for yourself.
Yeah.
And that didn't matter who was doing it. I mean, I remember being kicked out of an art class, and I didn't know how to come home and tell my folks that, I was in school, here you have to come and tell them that. And, but I did. And my father asked me, well, what was the situation? Why did that happen? And then I told him that I found myself increasingly bored and was giving myself tougher things to do. And I didn't want to do basically paint by numbers or whatever that stupid thing it was. And he said, okay, and what happened? And I said, well, I went and just did my own project. That was much more difficult, but following kind of the guidelines. And I said, the teacher got very angry, and that was it. Sent me to the office. I was out. And my dad listened to it. He says, okay, that's fine. I mean, yeah, okay, I get it. He doesn't know how to teach someone who has any talent. That's all he thought. And there was no punishment, no getting in trouble. All he told me was, all he had said was, to me, don't go back. Don't give in to that. If they tell you you have to do it, you can go back and don't do it. It's okay with me if you don't, is what he said. Okay. The great part of it was that they had a big art contest. All the high schools got together and had to submit art to the state fair in Sacramento. And the person they had do it completely froze up and couldn't do it. So that very teacher sent an emissary to ask if I would do something.
Oh,
and I did do that, and it won, and he still failed me because he said I didn't do all the other stuff.
Oh my goodness.
It was fine. It was fine. It didn't bother me because about 2 or 3 years later, I got hired by Marvel Comics, and the local newspaper came and did an interview, and in the newspaper, I let him have it. Everybody got to, yeah, I said, basically there was nothing I learned in school that got me where I was at. I did it all myself. In fact, I was failed in this class. The school got very upset and called the newspaper, and the arbitrator from the newspaper got a hold of me, and I just showed him my grades. I showed him the award that they got in my name that I didn't get, and I showed him the grades that I got. And I said, where is it that I didn't fail? Where can you see after I did this? And then the school, at that point, they didn't want to push it any further because the newspaper said, maybe we can do a story about this now. It's interesting. The
facts are the facts, right?
And they at that point they said no. But and then what's funny is about 20 years later, that school asked me to come and speak to all the students on
being
an artist. Yeah, I told them they didn't want me. I said, I don't think I'd say anything you want to hear, you know. That's what I passed. That's what I got. That all came from my dad telling me, good job sticking up for yourself. You don't have to go back if you don't want to.
That is a very interesting lesson.
So I pass that on. Yeah, I pass that on to my kids. As long as you're not acting up, you stick up for yourself.
I love it. I love it. We got Ken in the chat for 2 Canadians says, Kelley, that sounds like my dad.
It might have been. My dad got a he was in the Navy.
Oh my God.
He was a seaman.
I came back at the right time.
He got all around the world, man. He was in Asia, X-ray girl. He was in Asia, so who knows?
There's some half Asian. You know what? My grandfather was a bit of a philanderer as well. I have half aunts and uncles ranging from like in their like 70s and 80s to I think the youngest now is around 40 years old.
Oh.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Like my half aunt is closer in age to me than my mom.
You know what's funny? What's funny is at the time everyone's horrified, but as you get older, the younger girls all going, "Yeah, that's a guy." You're all cool with it now. No, my father's pretty straight-laced. My grandfather, on the other hand, when he died, 3 women showed up at his funeral that were proclaiming to be his significant girlfriends that didn't know of each other.
What?
Sorry.
Yeah, and we all found out at the funeral.
Surprise!
That was we all raised a glass to him on that day.
Oh my
90-year-old man with 3 girlfriends, all in their 60s. Yes.
Oh my God! Congratulations,
He
sir.
did good. And none of them knew about each other.
That is,
wow.
I mean, if you want to follow a Tate type guy, that would have been the guy to follow. Dang.
Mhm.
How did he do
Yeah.
it? How did he do
God
it?
knows.
Wild.
No one knows how he did it, but he did it.
Eric K for $2 says, love these two amazing ladies. Thank you so much, Eric K, for that.
Hi, Eric.
Hello. And we got Andrew Matthews for 2 British pounds. Kelly, did you know X-Ray is a superhero?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Who do I save?
I don't think I think you're one of those superheroes that we're not quite sure what side you're on. Mysterious.
Have you seen the comic strips that
Tugs? I would know. I would know what side Tugs is on.
Oh, what side
Dare I
is
ask?
on?
What?
No. She would be on. She'd be a good guy, but she'd be a scary good guy.
Oh, she. I can see.
I'll
Tugs.
save your life, but if you're gonna run your mouth, you're getting knocked down.
No. Yeah, I may save you, but yes, it might not be the way you want.
Yeah. You don't need that arm. It's fine. Yeah. You'll be fine.
Yeah. If this is what you mean, Andrew.
Is that ass?
Yeah, this is ass. He's peeping Tom. And who wants to see boobs? That's all he wants to do, but he ends up having to save people.
That is really. There's worse powers to have.
Oh
so he can see through people, and apparently I only have 9 words as a X-ray girl here.
That makes sense. Yeah.
With
your X-ray radiation. What is Garrett? Is that Garrett?
I don't know what Garrett is here, but he looks like Jesus.
He does. He does. He looks. He has a Christ-like figure there.
So yeah, in comics is teeny tiny. Yeah. The peeping Tom verse. All he wants to see is a good rack.
That's it. He talks about it a lot too.
Yes, he does.
I had drawn Lynn in a compromising situation in a comic once, and he knew that. How he knew, I think, is from probably Lynn. But he announced that to the world that you could see Lynn topless in an old comic. So,
draw me like one of your French girls, I guess.
Yeah.
Moment. Oh my goodness. Was this in one of the would you give a hint? I didn't even know about this.
You did. You were on. He said it when you were there.
Oh my god, my brain.
She doesn't listen. I wouldn't listen to those guys either. No.
To be honest, it's like half listening. I'm doing a couple things at once.
I will say they talk very fast, very quick, and they're all over the place. And I know you have to keep everything in order. Yes,
like,
that is tough. That is hurting cats. I'll give you that.
Yeah. And I don't do that great of a job.
Frankly,
I do an okay job.
If you stopped every time Az talked about breasts, you would never get anything done.
Yeah.
Never.
There's a lot of boob talk with that man. Yeah. Whether they're on a man or a woman, he doesn't discriminate. A good rack is a good rack to him.
Why not? Life's short, man.
We got Ken Burrows for another 2 Canadians says ABCDE is Abacidi.
Abacidi.
I say Abacidi. Acidy. It sounds like I said a bad word.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
And Ken with 5 gifted memberships, 5 gifted Poor Choices memberships. So thank you so much, Ken. This episode brought to you by Ken Burrows.
Right? No kidding.
Oh my gosh. So kind of going back to what you were saying about what you learned from your dad, how did you impart that on your kids? Was it like something happened, or did you try to tell them through like your experiences, or when did you do it as well?
What my dad would do is not sweat things, right? He you know, a lot of stuff kids do, everyone gets all gripped and upset and they, you know, and my dad had the great sense to stay in the moment and know what the big picture was, what to worry about, what not to worry about. So he could not abide cruelty. So you weren't allowed to be a bully or a jerk, or he wouldn't put up with. But you were expected to look out for weaker people.
Oh.
Okay, so if I got into it, my brother was very, very good at looking out for weaker people. But when either of us would kind of stick up for some kid being, I remember doing that for some kid, and it got me into a lot of trouble. But once my dad found out that what was going on, he was completely that you did the right thing, and it doesn't matter what someone else says. And I remember the words he used was, because the kids you helped will never forget that.
Mm.
They will always think at the worst point there are decent people in the world, and that was his thing. You just know that there's decent people in the world. I remember when there was a thing going on when I was a kid that you would get they seriously yelled at if you open the door for a woman. If you open the door for a lady or a girl, you get yelled at, right? I can open my own door. And my dad said, I don't care if they spit on you. You're opening a door for a woman, because this now is about you staying a gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be a time in any woman's life they're going to need a gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to know there's gentlemen out there, even if they're spit on. And I remember getting yelled at a few times. I was going, Dad, you're making me do it. And yeah, because I would open the door for someone. I don't need that. And you'd get yelled at and go, I'm sorry, but my dad's making, but that time passed, and women still like when you open a door for them, or you do something. But that was due to my father saying, I don't care what the rest of the world says. You're going to open a door for a girl. You don't let one go out to the car by themselves. I remember him saying that years ago.
I absolutely agree with that. It's one of the craziest.
Go to the car by themselves, and if worse, you go and drive their car up to where the door is, and that way. I mean, that kind of stuff. He was always thinking like that, and so there were all those little rules that he would do, and they took very easily. My youngest son is engaged to a girl simply because I passed that on to him, that you don't let a girl go to her car by herself. And he was taking her to her car, and she went, oh my God, a gentleman. And so I always gave my dad credit for that, because it was something he taught me that I taught him, is you look out for weaker people. You open a door for a lady. You give the best part, not take it, that kind of thing. Everything comes back to you. That's what he always said. Everything will come back to you. You just do the right thing.
Absolutely.
And I did it at first because he told me to, and then after a while you began to think, it's the old thing of like, you're a little kid, you don't understand giving a present's better than getting one. You go, how can that be? And then when you start doing it, you go, this is more fun than getting something. And it's what happened to me was all of a sudden I felt better about it. Getting slugged by a kid helping another kid never hurt at all.
Really?
If you were, never did, because you were doing the right thing.
Gosh, I don't know if I've ever been in that situation specifically, but
girls aren't in that situation. You guys are just you have a different set of politics than boys do.
I try not to get in fights. The only time is if I'll let my friend fight if she wants, if it's one-on-one. But if she gets ganged up on, I wouldn't.
I didn't really know girls to physically fight as much as say venomous things to each other.
Oh my gosh, we're so mean to each other.
It really depends on if there was alcohol involved. It always seemed like this one friend ended up because she's clumsy, so she hits into people at clubs, and then she'll get into a fight because they'll be like, excuse me, and she's like, I'm sorry, and then they'll be like, no, you hit me, you should be doing more. I'm like, I'm not getting involved in this.
Girls
but some people, well, especially if you can't hear in a club. But back to that point that you were saying earlier, I think for me it was really interesting. Of course I dated nice people, but there was this one friend who I eventually dated, who was absolutely one of the nicest gentlemen ever, and to kind of bring that mark up. But I just remember when he dropped me off, And he waited for me to get to the door. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, why would he do that? And he's like, I just want to make sure you get actually legitimately inside because you never know.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's just once you get into the habit of it. My dad did it so he would rest easy too, right? That's how he had learned. And probably because I had a lot of aunts. All of his sisters, all of my aunts were lovely women. Just probably, maybe, I'm guessing. He never told me why. But it is something that you just do, and it's not to be noble or anything. It's just there's the right thing to do, and that's what you do. You're in the position of being responsible, he told me. That I remember that. You are responsible inherently because you're the boy, you're the man, you're the male. You are responsible at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And those kind of lessons started to pass down to me. It's just by being in proximity of it, watching him do it, him telling me. It's like what I said last time about his financial advice, that I didn't do it because I had some innate skill with financial economics. He said, this is how you do it. And I just did it to make him happy. And then I get with Lynn and I just said, we got to do it because I don't want the old man yelling at me. But it all paid off. And those things pay off in a lot of different ways. I always felt I could, if I put down all my dad's stuff, it'd make a book. There were just so many of these things. Yeah, and now she's not allowed to climb ladders.
We talked about this at the beginning.
She falls down every time. She falls down, trips, or I hear something break.
You know what? I've been afraid of ladders since I started doing X-ray because the amount of fractures that we get.
Oh my
Yes,
God!
it's
Yeah,
insane.
my dad fell off a ladder when I was a kid. Luckily, he didn't hurt anything, but it scared that. But Jeebus, I'm like 6 years old, 6 years
Yeah.
old, and he was, I don't know, Christmas lights or something, and boom,
Falling,
and just,
falling 2 feet, you'll break your arm.
yeah, it's wild.
That's all you
Humans
need.
are weird.
Gravity is a force that is much more powerful than we know. And so I don't trust Lynn with gravity. No.
There must be 1 foot in contact with the ground at least.
At all times.
Yes. I would say that if for no other reason, it makes me not have high blood pressure to worry about it. So,
and that's what matters, really, because high blood pressure is not good for men at all.
No.
Nope, it is not. It is not. I like the seeing at least for you the generational advice flowing from your father down to you, and then I have a strong feeling your kids are going to do the same too.
I think where you hear it is they're in their early 20s and they start, to them they'll say, man, I remember a long time ago, and it was like 2 years ago, but to them it's a long time ago. And but they have nostalgia for a lot of the things that I did for them, which came from him. They know the rules that I gave them, they know came from their grandfather, because I would always say, this is what I learned and it works. I think when you know something works, then you realize that those stupid old people were pretty damn smart. That's the old adage, but I had found that my dad had a great way of conveying that information without some kind of lecture. He never, no lectures, no yelling, no nothing. It was just, who do you want to be? This is who you're. He always used to say his job was to put a decent citizen into the world. That was it. That was his reason to be on earth, is to pass on another good citizen. And that was what was expected of me. And so I do that with mine.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that was it. That's all he could do within his sphere of influence. So, and he always used to say, you want to sleep at night. You do the right thing, you sleep at night. You don't sit there and wonder.
You're a happier person.
Yeah, you don't lay awake wondering. And, the old thing of a coward dies many deaths is true. So his thing was, and he didn't mean like go and fist fight or anything. He just said, stand up for yourself, So what? What's the worst thing that can happen, right?
Yeah.
The worst thing that can happen is you'll feel good about yourself.
All these
but
morals.
Then he was big on, when you're wrong, you admit it.
A lot
That's
of
where a
people
lot
have
of
a hard
people have a
time.
hard time with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely. I mean, I'm sure it's always been that way, but I feel like it's
I
gotten
think
so
kids,
increased now.
I know I did, you gravitate to someone giving a shit about you. And
Mm-hmm.
even if it's a punishment, even if it's they're getting on to you, even if it's something you don't want to do, if you know it's being applied fairly, you love it because it's an odd way of being reinforced that you're loved. And that's what I would do with my kids. I would expect from them. I didn't expect outside of what they could do, but my dad used to say, I do not care about your grades. I care about your behavior in school. If you're behaving and you're not acting up and you're not being a jerk, then I know, okay, if your grades aren't great, well, at least you're not making some other kid get distracted. You're not being some bad influence. The rest will take care of itself. Just give me the effort. Just try. So I passed it on to my kids. So I didn't sweat any of the stuff other parents would sweat because it worked out for me. It worked out for my brother, you know. It was not what parenting was to him was not this huge effort and fear and all that stuff. It was just time spent. He just spent time with us. I heard more stories and more funny things or more experiences because he would always have us around. He didn't go off and say, I got to be by myself or I got to go do. No, he would make a point that we would spend time together. And it really is. It's as simple as that. Time spent with a kid, they'll come out okay.
That's all they want. It's so easy. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, not the kids themselves can be not so easy, but the message is so easy. Spend time with them and raise them to be good, productive people of society. That's the whole point.
But what does a kid do? He acts up to get attention. But if he's getting attention, he doesn't really act up.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess you had kids kind of growing up in the technological age. How did you kind of handle that? And they're asking for phones and whatnot, because I feel like that's a lot of things people wonder.
It's tough. I think it's tough now, to be honest, because they receive information so utterly differently than I do, and their view of the world, you have to tell them, is not on this screen. It out there is still exactly the way I knew it and remembered it. On the screen, it's utterly different. People are incredibly rude and toxic and vile and all those kind of things. And that's because I always tell my kids, that's because they're kind of invisible. And if you're invisible, you get away with a lot more and you become your baser foulness. When you have to be out there and exposed and people know, then it's different. And that's the way the world is. Invisible is a bad thing. And that's what the internet does, is it's invisible. You're a name or you're a whatever your little handle is. And you're not, and you tend to hear things in the worst voice, not the best voice. So I at that point, I mean, there's only so much influence you can have. And then you just rely on the fact that, you know, it's almost like a doctor, first do no harm. And it's the same thing with when you have a kid, you know, don't go and be a problem.
Yeah.
You know, and like my dad said, when you are a problem, pick the right time to be one.
I hope I can impart this on my kids.
You will. You'll just rewind this. Just rewind this all the time.
I'm taking mental notes. I already have some of this with my guide, so we don't have to worry about it too much. But I'm like,
yeah, it's as each part of their life, you'll see that they will require more guidance in different things. And it's okay if their feelings get hurt. It's actually, that's one of the times you tell them, yeah, that's fine. That's, you know, and here's what you do with it. You know, it's not the end of the world. And it makes them tougher the next go around. And then pretty soon that's okay. And then it's not hard to ask a girl out on a date because you've been through so much that it's okay if they say no. I always used to, my dad used to say, I think my brother loved it. My dad used to say, what's the greatest hunter on earth? A tiger, right? A tiger. I remember him telling me this when I was in like junior high school or something like that. He says, a tiger is the greatest hunting animal on earth. It is incredibly successful. It is the top of its game. It's this incredible beast. And it only gets maybe 1 out of 15 on a try. Only 1 out of 15 does he actually catch something to get it. So if the girl says no, as long as you're in that 1 out of 15, you're okay.
What a great analogy.
Yeah, it was great. And at that point you went, yeah. And, you know, he used to say, you can't get upset if a girl says no, they don't know you. And maybe they do and they don't like, or it's not their thing or whatever, but don't take it personal.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right. And if they say no, respect it, move on. And then he said, what will happen is another girl will say yes, and the one who said no is then going to get, what did I do? Maybe I shouldn't have done that. And you're going to realize, he said, they're just as confused as you are. They're just, maybe, what did that girl know that I didn't know? And he was so right about that. I remember that happening. And all of a sudden the other girl goes, well, you didn't ask me twice. And I'm like going, well, you said no. It's like, you know, but I came home and I told my dad that. I said, oh my God, you're right. Like I used to say that all the time. He goes, well, he said, once you realize that no one has power over you, you're okay. No one, if they say no, doesn't mean they have power. It doesn't change who you are. You know, it's okay. And that makes the world easier to deal with on so many other levels.
Oh, absolutely.
It does. And it took a lot of pressure off when he would say things like that, because I can remember that happening. And then I go off on my own and they would be upset that I did not pursue it anymore. That's when you learn the vagaries of girls. Some of them want to be pursued.
Some like
no,
the extra.
And I hate that. Sometimes no does not mean no, but you're not sure. So I just took no means no. You know, I don't want to go. I just, because my dad said there were more girls to go look for. You know, he said there's no way. There's no way to know. But that was one of those. You know, I think my dad had a lot of this probably because he had learned it through his experience in growing up the same way. And even though he grew up in a totally different time than me, as I grew up as a totally different time, then yeah, my dad did look like Paul Newman. It's frightening. I mean, I can tell you a funny story. We went to go see, as kids, we went to go see the Oakland A's play baseball. And in the old days, if you waited they had these big buses and the players would come and go off these buses. So all the kids would go there with their baseballs wanting a signature. And so my dad walked my brother and I and a few of the neighborhood kids. He took us down to the Oakland Coliseum to see a baseball game. And he's standing there. And about 15 or 20 kids had him sign it. He couldn't say no. He signed a baseball along with the ball player. So there's Reggie Jackson and Raleigh Fingers and my dad. And my dad signed about 20 of them before finally he could get himself away because he was so striking. He was such a handsome man. So they just assumed he was a ball. And he was a tall guy. He was about 6'2", very broad-shouldered, extremely handsome. We all wondered, you know, why he didn't. But my dad was a very modest guy in that regard. But I would kill now if one of those baseballs showed up with all those names on it, my dad's name. But that used to happen a lot. He had been mistaken as an actor once, and he went out to dinner with some friends of his. And my mom came back laughing because they all were convinced he was some actor. They'd seen him somewhere. And he was very embarrassed. He got upset with my mom for telling us that. But his attitude was always this that there's bigger things to worry about than that, you know, than these little things. And you have so much responsibility that when you have time to relax, relax. When you are doing your responsibility, take care of it. I mean, and so those things I did push on to my kids was don't, I mean, it isn't like he was perfect. You always have to overcome it, but he had this this internal training that taught him how to handle this stuff. And that I did get from him. It's why I could do comic books. I can handle someone saying, I hate your artwork. It doesn't bother me. That was due to my dad, you know, who got it through my head. Not everyone's going to like everything. Not everyone's going to like you. You're not going to like everything. It's okay. And that was through, not so much through art, but just in general. So when it got to that point, I don't want to say immune to it, but what it was it didn't stay with me, you know. Why would it? And that was one of his really good gifts. You always knew, and I got this through to my kids, that I would be there. He always let me know that I will always be there. It doesn't come with any kind of rules or anything like that. The worst thing my father could ever do to me was say he was disappointed.
That cut you in the gut.
That was a gut shot. I used to tell my brother, I said, wouldn't it be great if Dad would get a ping pong battle, just whack our asses until it was red, and then it would be over, because the disappointed would last a month. You know, it wouldn't go away. You'd just go, oh God, I feel so bad. And my dad would go on and do his thing. And we would go, well, am I in his good graces yet? So I kind of turned that with my kids. I just turned it into with them, when they'd both be there and one would act up or do something stupid, I'd always look to the other one who didn't do anything, and I'd say, well, now you're in the love lead. He's way behind. You're way ahead in the love lead. That's the one. And that would drive the other one crazy. And the kids now, years go by, I hadn't done that. It would drive them nuts. And years go by, and the other day, one of my kids did a stupid thing, and the younger one says to me, and this has been years, I mean like 10, 12 years, and he goes, well, Dad, I guess I'm in the love lead. But they got it. It was a funny thing you did. And because I couldn't do the disappointment thing as well as my dad. My dad was great at it. But I knew I couldn't do that. Lynn was great at that one. Lynn is the master of that.
I'm disappointed.
So she won on if she was disappointed with the kid, boy, that's the one they went and, you know, got on knees and begged forgiveness. So with me, I just did it funny and just said, well, who's in the love lead today? And, you know, and then you forget about it and you realize the impact you have is 12 years later, I have a kid, didn't forget the love lead. Yep. And he liked it. Yeah, he liked it.
It like pushes them. It's motivation for them to do better. Because if they're to make you proud, they first have to be proud of themselves. And that's where it will come. Then they'll know they did something. At first they'll tell you, I did this thing. And then later on, it's just what they do. And later on, I would hear really good things about my kids from their friends. They wouldn't even, I'd say, why didn't you tell me this good thing? Or why didn't you? And they go, oh, well, I didn't. Oh, and then they'll tell me, you know, it didn't enter their mind to do that. Don't get me wrong. They screw up all the time. They're kids, but there's that core of something good there that I go, all right, wherever my dad is, he's going to know that I put 2 good citizens in the world. I did my job. I'm done. You know? I'd say so. Just like even hearing all these stories and from yourself, Lynn, and I like the approach that you have for kids. Because I mean, like my parents, I feel like they did a good job. But there was a lot more. You gotta say
that because they might be listening.
My dad is literally down here.
He's right there.
But it was they really just wanted us to do well, and I think there was a lot of like we did this we came to Canada to give you a better life, and you know, to put you through this. We're working really hard, and I think that we didn't want to disappoint them in that way, and it was a bit more I guess, fear-based in that sense, and they worked so hard that they weren't around as often. They're around
Right.
way more now, and so you can never go backwards, but I'm so thankful for what they did because I don't know
Sure.
what we'd be doing.
No, I mean,
So
I
kinda
do
putting the 2
remember
together.
if there's a thing they did that I really liked, both my folks, is they both worked very hard, like what you said. And I never knew as a kid that we did not have any money. I knew that I didn't know that it was all they could do to afford the mortgage and food. I didn't know. I mean, to me, everything was fine. When they really started making a lot of money, it was the same. I never knew.
Mhm.
It was the same life because they got the real stuff correct. And the work ethic is the work ethic, but they
Mhm.
got the real stuff right. The only way I would kind of know is there'd be a new car occasionally. There'd be a new car or something along those lines, but nothing ostentatious. They always lived in the same house. They always lived the same lifestyle. It wasn't until I got older and I realized how successful they had gotten.
Mm.
And I'll be honest with you, I admired it. I'm glad they didn't kind of live
I
to those
agree.
means. I always say to them to this day, whenever that would come up, that was one of the things I was going to try to pass on is no matter where you're at, you can't let that determine whether you're happy or not. Because when we didn't
Absolutely.
have anything, I was just as happy as when they did. And I had no idea one way or the other.
Mhm.
Zero.
As long as there's food on the table.
That's it. And my mom knew how to cook and my dad spent time with us. Everything was fine as far as I was concerned.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. It's insane how I heard a story, the guy who invented the paper sleeve, for the cups, he gets royalties for it, and
Yeah.
his kids apparently didn't know that he did that and were, like,
Yeah.
filthy
Mm.
rich from selling that.
Yeah, he didn't tell them at all that they
Yeah.
lived
No.
like.
There was a friend, father had a friend who they were in construction and he just put a magnet at the end of a screwdriver so it would hold a screw in and he never had to work again. Right? He just magnetized
Oh!
the end of it.
Well, we
Yeah.
have
Oh
him to
wow.
I
thank for
remember
that.
that guy. I remember that guy. And he just because he got tired of them falling off when you're trying to do something in a tight area,
That's so
especially repairing a
smart.
car. Yep. And he just made it magnetized at the end so it would stick. He sold that idea and never had to work again.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I need to think of something that obscure.
The guy who I was liked is when you buy a salami, a big, an uncut big salami,
Uh-huh.
at the end they have that metal tip that ties off.
Mhm.
There was a guy who invented the metal tip that ties off and he made a fortune. It wasn't like he built a rocket to go to the moon or cures for heart
Yep.
disease. It was the little metal thing on the end of a
Yep.
salami.
And the person who made zippers probably is
Yeah.
laughing.
Yeah. But isn't that's crap you use every day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to the moon.
I just need to think of something like that.
Yeah, that's well, my days of thinking up stuff. No, my big positive thing was I had the good fortune to not duplicate relationship mistakes, and I married Lynn. I didn't go, oh, here's a girl that didn't work out with. I'll go find the exact same girl so it won't work out again. I didn't make that mistake.
The biggest
I went,
life
this
lesson.
one didn't
Wow.
work out. This one didn't work out. I'll get one that's the opposite of that last
Yeah.
one.
Where
Let
are
me try
my?
that.
Where is this all going wrong?
Did-
Oh, that's
Right.
it. Okay.
So I went. The first trick was I went from brunette to blonde because I'd always been kind of with brunettes. So I said I'll try a blonde, right? And it worked out.
Oh my goodness. So, do you attribute that to something maybe you've learned growing up or talking with friends, talking with your dad? Because that's something that I think a lot of people
Extra
tend to
girl.
make
All my
mistakes.
friends made the same damn mistake. They would get the same girl over and over. My brother got the same girl over and over. So to me, it was
Us
like,
girls do it too. We do it
Yeah.
too. We
Yeah.
wonder why we can't find any good men. It's like, hello.
yeah. So I it wasn't like I said I'm going to look for that specific thing, but when it came along, I was more open to it.
Mm.
So I trivialized the hair color, but I had people, my circle of friends were shocked that I was with a blonde because it was always a brunette. Always a brunette. And I never noticed that. It was Lynn who really noticed that. But every girl you point out is a brunette. And I go, I can't. Okay, you're a blonde. It's okay. But it was that thing that I noticed in her, certain things immediately, they were hard not to notice, that were different. And they were all positive differences. And they weren't things that that I probably gave enough credit to being younger. And I don't even want to say because I was younger. It's just you don't. Until you get burned by it, you don't. And then I realized that there was someone here more serious. And not about, but about the world, about thinking a little deeper than normal. And at that point, when you open your eyes up a little bit, you receive it better. So no, I didn't invent salami ties, but I did have the ability to not repeat the same mistake again.
Which is so important. So many people.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's human. Most of us, we do the same thing over and over again until we hit a certain point, and then it's
probably it feels safer. It feels familiar. It's comfortable.
It's easier.
But then again, I kept finding women that I was lactose intolerant with, I guess is the way to put it. You like them, but you go, why do I not feel good after that?
That's one way to explain a bad relationship. Or one that didn't end, had to end.
Well, okay, but you've had enough bad relationships, right? So I would imagine everyone does, but you, at a certain point, what makes that one person stick out, if you're lucky enough to find them, is they're probably not like the other ones. It isn't so much that you had to do something else, it's that you realized you weren't going to deal with that anymore. And that's what happened with me. I just I survived those things well, again, and I'll give credit to my dad because he allowed me to really develop my own identity. So my self-worth or view of myself wasn't based on someone else's opinion. I mean, that sounds arrogant, but it isn't. It's like,
it's healthy.
It is. And so I knew who I was, and I liked who I was, and I give my father a lot of credit for that because he let me find that out. And then when I'd do something that I personally liked, he'd endorse it, even if it was goofy. Had no trouble with me drawing, had no trouble with me liking comic books, had no trouble with me loving going to the movies all the time. He had no trouble with that, and he endorsed those things, and he would say how much that was fine with him. Well, once you have the major authority figure in your life say it's okay, you become more confident in every way. And I think that's true of a boy or a girl. If your father is a strong influence, you're much more immune. You'll make better decisions. And more importantly, when you make a bad one, you did it at the time. You don't have to have someone tell you did. You knew you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And that's probably more important for girls at that age than a boy, to be honest, is to have your ability to judge that. The bullshit detector needs to be
absolutely
very involved with the girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the boy, it's don't get flattered. If a girl comes up and goes, "You're pretty," but she's danger, then you go, "Yeah, okay, fine," and you move on because that's danger. That's a danger girl. But with a girl, it's learned, yeah, that's bullshit, and that's what a good dad does, is he gives you self-worth and self-confidence. So when I got with Lynn, all of that was there in place, and I was able to use how he taught me to be critical thinker that way. And think outside of my own routine, because he always used to say, if you only listen to the same voices, you'll always make the same mistakes.
Ooh.
And so I went, he's right. So that's why you can have friends that are very different politically or religion or race or whatever. We had that growing up. I know what my dad thought, and he had everything under the sun coming to dinner, or we'd go to dinner, or we'd hang out, or we'd vacation with them, and they were completely different people. But they found commonality in their character.
Mhm.
And they were all decent people. They just had different views of the world. But that was nowadays it's like, what, you're a traitor if you see someone who
Oh my god,
disagrees with
if you're the other, then I hate you, and
yeah.
it's
Well, and the short-sightedness and how much of life you miss.
yeah. Well,
You
it's
just miss so
interesting.
much.
You can learn so much about so many people. Like for me, a thing I like to learn is the foods and the
Yeah.
culture and sometimes the rituals and different stuff. And, I think that's sad to exclude a whole group just based on their politics and whatnot. And I mean,
Well, again, I had uncles who fought in World War II on both sides, and they would
oh,
not tolerate now. No, I knew then that they would not tolerate someone calling someone else a Nazi because they dealt with a real one. And I remember that. I remember them never, they'd laugh and make fun of like a hippie or something like that. But they said, we kind of fought so people could be idiots or hippies or different.
mhm,
And I had one say, if there was no difference when we were overseas, we saw no one different on either side.
mhm.
The ones in the Pacific said the same thing. So but that was something they all agreed with. And that was something I picked up on. Was I grew up with all different kinds of people in the house, and it was fun. And to your point, food. There would be all
Yeah,
different kinds of food.
so many different foods.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can learn so much too. I mean, I love talking, especially to a lot of people in the people that escaped war.
Yeah.
Because like my dad and my mom, of course, left Vietnam, but like I have some friends from like Lebanon and just talking about like, oh my God, left my friend at their house, and the next day it's like pandemonium, and you get to learn so much from the past. And I think erasing the past is not necessarily the way to kind of move forward because you can learn even if it wasn't positive. I mean,
No, and bad feelings or hurt feelings are okay.
they're
You
okay.
you you move through it. It's you got to have them. To remove it, to not have those things, and that's what I would do with my kids, is I never tried to make it better. What I tried to make them do is understand it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that once they understood something, they didn't fear it so much anymore.
Hmm. That's one
And
way to go about it.
and that was it, because all of fear comes from the unknown.
Yeah.
And they didn't know stuff. Well, my dad did that to me. He never did the thing though, like walk in someone else's shoes. He never said that. He used to, for example, he heard somebody going on and on and on about being an American. And my dad, I remember we're driving home from this, and I was a kid, but I remember him saying, well, you know what being an American is, right? And I said, and I didn't know what he was talking about. And so I say whatever I say. And he says, no, 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 no. American isn't a race, and it's not a religion, and it's none of those things. American is an idea. And that idea anyone can have, doesn't matter where they come from. He says, but the idea of being an American is they get to be different, but they have to let you be different. And that's where we all get along. And you get really used to that.
Hmm.
And once someone tries to take it away, that's when we fight, is when they try to take that away. Now, I know now he's saying that because his brothers and my mom's brothers and all of them fought in wars. Now, he didn't tell me they all fought in these wars over these things. I didn't know. I was a little kid sitting in the back seat going to get a Christmas tree. So he would say these things. And at first, it doesn't make sense. But after a while, it starts to take root. And that thing of American being an idea is right on the money.
Hmm.
And at that point, he said, now, that sounds easy, but that's really rare because people are afraid of making up their own minds. People are afraid of being responsible on their own. They're going to want someone else to do it. So then I got it, because he ran his own business. He didn't go work for somebody else. And so I tried to tell my own kids that I started passing out stuff on, because it does make you, he used to say, the saddest people were the ones who'd look back on life and say, I should have, and I didn't. And why didn't I? And the risk, I didn't take the risk.
Yeah.
And he said, there's nothing risky in this country. It's the safest place to fail in. It isn't like other places where if you fail, you starve to death. He says, this is the place you can do that. So that's almost revolutionary in that kind of thinking.
There's very few people who think like
it's
that.
Independent thought.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's very independent thought. And it doesn't mean what it really comes down to is it doesn't mean false equivalencies. It says there's a moral and there's not a moral. There's a right and there's not a right. There is good and there is evil. You will figure it out, and that's everywhere. So all day long, from minute to big ideas, you'll be faced with these things. So know who you are, do the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Dang, lot of good truth.
Well, he wasn't going to be there all the, because he knew he wasn't going to be around all the time when we're around a bunch of other knuckleheads.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or that cute girl who says stupid stuff that isn't true, or whatever. You're going to know who you are and what the right thing to will be, or at least just start saying, what would the old man do? Mm-hmm. Would the old man do this or would he do that? And that was the most helpful.
Love it. I love it. We do have a couple Streamlabs donations before we continue, if that's okay. Eric K, $3 says, many of my cousins are very beautiful ladies. We would all go out and I was the protector. Eventually, I would always hear my cousin, Eric will kick your butt. I would have to go over and see what's happening. Never did lose, though. Ooh, dang, Eric. Mm-hmm. And then for $1, he says, do not forget Streamlabs tips. And then for another $1, he says, you have Streamlabs tips. Another $1.
Thanks, Eric.
Is a place where people can tip as well. And then for $2, he goes, hello? Is anyone out here? Am I alone?
That's good.
Not anymore.
That's good.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric, for single-handedly funding poor choices.
I love it. And Crash
Mono
member for 12 months says, 1 year, woo, cheers. I don't have my wine with me today, but cheers.
You don't have, that's two in a row where you're not having your wine.
I know. I had Thanksgiving yesterday, so I'm feeling a little bloated.
Do you guys get 2 Thanksgivings? Do you do ours too?
Just one. I will probably do yours as well. Just
because we have the football game on.
Look at, I have an American flag in my background, not even a Canadian one.
When I was a kid, one of my dad did a thing. He put a flagpole up, and it was around the bicentennial. So he had the old American flag, with the 13 stars in a circle. Mm-hmm. But on July 4th of that day, he went and he bought a big Union Jack and he put it up and he flew the Union Jack.
Oh no.
People went bonkers.
Oh, I bet.
I love that flag.
That's so funny.
I still have his Union Jack.
Oh, do you?
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. We have Eric K for another $1 saying, next time you're found with your chin on the ground, there's a lot to be learned. So look around. Just what makes that little old ant think he'll move that rubber tree plant? Anyone knows an ant can't move a rubber tree plant, but he's got high hopes. He's got, and then it ends there. Let me refresh.
You know the song, right? High hopes. He's got high hopes. He's got pie in the sky, apple high. Pie folks, you're right. Come on, you gotta.
You don't know that song? So I didn't listen to a lot of classic rock. Is it classic rock?
No, it's not. It's not even a rock song. It's just a standard. It's an old tune. It's like Frank Sinatra music.
We can't play it here because we'll get struck. But
I will listen to it afterwards. I'm so sorry.
Is it the Asian family thing? You're not allowed to have any kind of distractions.
No, it wasn't even that. It's my parents. They never really looked or watched American, Canadian television music and whatnot. Except my dad did watch Star Trek a little bit, but I was scared of Star Trek at the time when I was a kid. So I listened to mostly pop music because I went to dance classes and that's what they played.
Oh my goodness.
So
Okay,
I
but
listened to a lot of
Tugs,
pop
you knew
music.
that song. Tugs, didn't you
Yeah.
know that song?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, see,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I'm just-
But I'm
international,
also an old, like, I like Sinatra and Martin and
Oh,
all
yeah.
those guys. So.
If you just go and get the best of Sinatra off like iTunes or Apple or any of those things, it is the best thing to put on in the house.
Yep.
It is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, that
I'm
and the Rat Pack.
jealous. I'm kind of jealous. Canadians, now that I think of it, get 2 Thanksgivings because you have the kind of fake Thanksgiving they have, and then the real ones come in here pretty soon. So you get a warm up Thanksgiving.
Your fake Thanksgiving.
Trial run.
Yeah.
So do you guys do turkey? Do you do turkey or do you have bear meat and seal?
We had turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes.
Fake
My parents would do like
our foods. If you're gonna do Canadian Thanksgiving, it's got to be seal blubber or whale blubber, something like that.
Oh my
You can't be doing
maple
our food.
syrup with
You guys have your fake bacon. Your fake bacon that's actually ham.
Bacon, yeah. Oh my god. I saw at Costco there was a drum of maple syrup for like $2,500, which who would need that much maple syrup?
Oh my god. I think I know some people, they'd go through that in a year. There are people I know who just everything with maple syrup.
Love that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my family, we did like very Asian type of food. So
Which
whatever.
Is cool. I have an editor of mine was half Italian, half his family was Italian. So they would have turkey and all that stuff, but they'd also have manicotti and antipasta.
Yummy.
And they have a lot of Italian dishes. One time he said there's a great lasagna. And I went, man, you guys must have been laying on your sides at the end of the day. He said, oh, yeah. Italian themed Thanksgiving started about 10 o'clock and go all the way until it's late at night. So,
oh my God. I would imagine Mark is Italian, so they have lots and lots and lots of food.
You know, the best Asian food I ever had was in Italy, though.
Oh,
because it's a Catholic country. Sunday, all the restaurants are closed, so the only ones open were Asian restaurants.
Oh, that's smart.
Near the Vatican, Lynn and I their only place open was this Chinese restaurant near the Vatican. I still think of that restaurant to this day.
Oh my God. It was that good.
Yeah, the dim sum was unbelievable.
Next, if we go, I'll hit you up. I know a lot of like my Jewish friends, including even us, like Christmas and any holidays, we always go to the Chinese restaurants because they're the only places open.
We do on Christmas Eve, Lynn and I, there's a Chinese restaurant, and it's been a tradition of ours forever, is we go and get a big Chinese meal on Christmas Eve.
And Lynn is saying,
we have enchiladas. Yeah.
Nice.
I love it. My stepmom is Dutch, so we have a lot of Dutch snacks at like Christmas and Thanksgiving.
What's a Dutch snack?
Oh God, now you're gonna put me on the spot. They do we do like duck liver, like liver pate, and we do a thing where we put coconuts under. Oh, that's a Hawaiian thing. We do the pickles in the Christmas tree.
Stroop waffles?
There's like a whole you put a pickle in the Christmas tree and it's supposed to be good luck, and then the Hawaiians do the coconut under.
Now they're lying. They're lying to Tugs. They're lying to you, right? Because the Dutch don't put pickles in Christmas.
The pickles, it carries over from the Germans.
They're saying that if you go to Holland, they're going to say what? Denmark? What?
It's a tradition. I guess it's normally a German thing, but I guess because the two cross, it's crossed over. So we do that, and then I'm like on the spot now. We have Dutch mayonnaise, and we do Dutch.
What's Dutch mayonnaise? What makes it?
It's made differently, and I don't know what it is. It's more,
white?
Huh?
Is it white?
No, it's actually more of a yellow. Ours, the American mayonnaise is white, but theirs is more of a yellow, and it's tangier. So if you don't like the vinegar taste in mayonnaise, you're not gonna like the Dutch.
Okay. So it isn't like it's went over. It's made to be yellow and tangy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's because their ingredients are just like if you have ketchup in America versus ketchup overseas, like it's two completely different tastes because they don't have all the preservatives and stuff in it. So I don't know if that's why or if it's just the way it's made. I don't know.
Probably the way it's made.
Yeah.
You know.
I want to try some Dutch mayo now.
So good. It's really good. Yeah. It's tangier.
I liked when I was in Tennessee, they had Duke's mayo, and I'm not used to that before, and it was tangier, and I liked it a lot. It was outstanding, actually.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah, I had to bring some back. It was outstanding.
All this food talk is making me hungry now.
we need to go and bring different dishes from around the world, like host a dinner.
That's one of the good things. Lynn got me into dim sum. I'd never had it until she came along.
So good.
And she would just she wouldn't order like a big meal. She would just order all what I found out were appetizers. To me, it was a meal, but they were just all these little
dishes.
Oh my God. That's what we do is go to restaurants, especially anything Asian, and I get the appetizers because it's the same thing with Italian food. I like the antipasta the best.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
risotto.
I love all their little meats, and cheeses, and olives and peppers. I can eat that all day.
Oh, and then I love their spicy oil, whatever that is usually so good.
Yeah.
Now I'm really hungry.
It's one of those things again where when my dad met my mom gave him meals he was always used to basically steak and potatoes from his side of the family because they were, that's all they did. And my mom, being Hispanic, it was all this flavor that he was not used to. He had never dealt with cumin before. So, but he got to really dig that. And my mom was naturally a good cook. So she was able to take things and make them a lot better than what he was used to. I remember when she's very good at Italian cooking and Mexican cooking. So, and then it opened his eyes to, because of that, he would try Chinese stuff. And and then all of a sudden we ate well,
Oh, that just sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it was. He was open to it. He'd give it a shot. And then, like I said, we had all these different friends who'd bring over. I remember these, I guess they were Islander people because they did a pig. And it was fabulous. I'll never forget that. I was horrified because it was a whole pig that came over.
Oh, you didn't see the face? Yeah.
Oh my God, the whole thing. But it was absolutely fabulous. And the guy had cooked it in his backyard for a day or something and brought it over. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was delicious. We had Swedish friends who'd bring Swedish cuisine all the time. I love Swedish meatballs. I thought a meatball's a meatball, but no, that's not.
They do something to it that's just wonderful.
Yeah. It was sweet almost, but I loved it.
Oh, yummy.
Food.
Now I want to go make all the foods.
I want to go to IKEA and get a Swedish meatball now.
Ooh, sweet meatball.
Oh my gosh.
So do you girls cook?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I've made my dad teach some recipes he hasn't shown me before since he's here. So trying to learn a bit more and absorb a bit more because I don't. Well, you never know. You never know.
It is good. It is good when you learn what your family did. It's like you pass it on. That's the thing with my oldest is moved out on his own. So now he wants to know how to make certain dishes I used to make that I learned from my mom how to make. And it's all the same. So, he made enchiladas and it was like strange to go to his apartment and eat with him because it smelled just like when I was a kid in my house because I taught him exactly how I did it.
Oh my goodness.
It is cool. That is a cool thing.
Well, you see the fruits of your labors almost,
Well, it's like you realize that stuff, they never say at the time, this really matters to me. This is important. They don't do that. It's later on you find out when they're out on their own that they're replicating a lot of, then when something stuck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure it's nice because my mom and my dad have said this when we go to them and we're like, thank you for doing that, even though it sucked at the time or whatever it was, right?
Oh,
And they're
I
like, wow.
apologize to my old man all the time. Why I am so sorry for this or that or the other thing, you know. No, I mean, the only thing my dad ever did was say, when am I going to get grandchildren? He would do to me. That was one of the few times that there would be pressure. Like, he wanted grandkids, right?
Mhm.
So that used to be funny because I'd tell Lynn. I say, and so Lynn would always say, well, I guess I'm the broodmare. And I said, yeah, for right now, you're the broodmare. You have to, but you'll be a very well-treated broodmare while you're brooding.
Just pump them
So
out.
are they doing that to you?
No. So I think my mom has always said that she just wants all of us happy. She was so happy when we got into our careers. My dad, he hasn't mentioned it often, but I know he likes having the grandkids because his niece just had her second child, and so he goes and sees them often, and he loves showing the pictures. So I mean, I know he wants them. He just doesn't say it. He's so nice.
Yeah, that is about as unveiled as yeah, that's pretty much.
It's almost like he's saying it without saying it.
Yeah, with pictures, it's even better. Look at what it's supposed to be. Yeah.
Why you no do this?
Yeah.
Nowhere near.
Is that with you, Tugs? Is that coming your way too? Any kind of hints and pressures?
There's no pressures. I put my own pressures. I'm like, with babies, I'm old. I'm in my mid-30s. I put my own pressures. There's no really, not a lot of pressure from my family. My mom sometimes, but not really. It's just more of like, oh well, when you guys start to try, then we'll go from there. So,
how happy do you think they'll be?
Super happy. I'll be the first one in the family that has, well, at least for my sister and I, like my parents, I'll be the first one to have like biological kids. I have a stepsister, but my little sister doesn't want children, and so I'm the only one that has that'll have grandkids, like the actual grandkids.
I remember Lynn saying she didn't want to have kids until one day she came home and says, hey, guess what? We're going to have kids. So
yeah.
We're having kids.
See, that's why I always think that, boys, it's fairly simple. We're fairly basic engines. We go forward. We do. Okay. Girls, there's strange glands and weird endocrine systems that all of a sudden one day mix and pump and do, and it changes them. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I went from your life will not have to deal with children to literally we're going to have children. And I asked once, I said, Lynn, what made you, did someone say something or whatever? She was simply said, I was driving home from work and I just knew I have to have a kid. Aww. It wasn't someone told her. It was just this thing. And I went, that's why there's 6 billion people on Earth, because there's all these girls going, we're going to do this now. And it is such a powerful thing that it was so powerful when she said it. I didn't argue it at all. I didn't even say, but you said, I just said, okay.
Because with her hair up.
When you deal with true feminine power like that, real strong like that, you wither in front of it and you say, okay, whatever you say.
I'm gonna do that on my boyfriend now. Right now.
Yeah. We're having kids now.
Yeah, it was so matter of fact. It wasn't like an order. It was just tomorrow the sun will rise, and her hair was very down that day. It was all the way down.
Oh, and she was 29 at the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. It hit her. And I remember not at once disputing it. I didn't argue it. I didn't say, what about you, what you said, or this isn't the contract or whatever. Because I didn't have a feeling any one way or the other. I don't think most guys do. You're just happy to get a girl that doesn't go all the time. So I was in a happy place, right? And So when she said that, I went, okay, and that's fine. And I had no fear of it. And I can honestly say, as my father's fairly undemonstrative, or he was, until he found out Lynn was pregnant. And he got to our house in record time. He was such a slow driver and cautious and careful, but he got to our house within minutes after I told him. And normally it takes him about 25, 30 minutes, but he was there in minutes. And then when Lynn was able to say it's a boy, he would like, let me get you a cushion, Lynn. Kelley, go get her something to eat. I mean, she was all...
He doted on her.
He totally doted on her.
That's cute.
After she punched that first one out, he was always Lynn's champion.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, always. He called her his daughter, and he meant it. That is my daughter.
I love that.
You know? And when she had a second boy, she got everything then. At that point.
Now, if you had girls, Lynn, it would have been a different story.
Yeah, it would have been. Well, it's I think with my dad, he wouldn't have cared, but he understood boys more. Because he had all these, you know, he had a bunch of sisters, but he had us and whatnot. So his whole experience was boys. And the fact that it was boys that came is probably he was more comfortable probably with that. But Lynn and I always felt if we'd have had a little girl, they would have been the most single-handedly spoiled child ever.
Oh,
I can believe it.
Absolutely. And he was so protective of women anyway that I can only imagine what he would have been like with his own granddaughter. Because he was, when I say protective, I mean he was, you will look out for them. And I don't care if it's a girl across the street and she's in any kind of difficulty, you go do something about it. That was how he was. You just do the right thing. So if it was his own, God knows. Lynn, I would have been kicked out. I wouldn't have been trusted to do the right thing, get the right dolly or something.
The pink sparkly one is.
I love it. I love it.
I don't. Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap it up. We do have one more super chat here. Ken Burrows for 5 Canadian. My dad always said to be a gentleman because that's what men do. Also, only worrying about things within your control.
Right.
That's a hard.
Yeah,
that last
that's
part
maybe that's that generation too.
Maybe like I'd say I learned about that immensely, and actually like taking it into practice was with yoga. Weirdly enough. Yeah.
My dad didn't do yoga.
But I'm sure my parents taught me.
I don't see you doing downward facing dog, then having these great thoughts here.
Oh, because what? No, it's funny because I was in it was hot yoga, and I was in a position, and I was just thinking that they keep saying only think about what's happening right now. Don't think about what's happening out here. Only what you're doing here. What's in control. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, all right, I should do that. And then applied it to the rest of my life.
What were you doing while they were saying that? You were doing a yoga thing?
Yeah, a pose that probably I don't know, one of the ones like the dancer's pose with the leg behind the back and the splits or something.
Listen, when I'm doing yoga, the only thing I can think about in that moment is please don't fall, please don't fall, please don't fall. I'm not thinking about anything else.
You'd like pull a ligament or something.
Yeah.
I used to be a dancer.
It's
I used to be a dancer, so it was fun. It was fun, but yeah, weird place to extrapolate that for sure.
No, it's like meditation though, right?
Mm-hmm. Very close to meditation because you really aren't supposed to think about anything while you're doing it, just the pose in itself.
Well, that is meditation. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
Well, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think your dad can't wait for a kid though, X-Ray girl. That's what I'm getting out of this.
Sure.
I can't wait for a kid. Let's go, lady. Jeez.
I know.
Actually, you know what? At this point, wait. We'll get pregnant at the same time. It'll be fun.
That's actually what you guys should both do.
That'd be fun.
Is pick a day that you say you're going to start. Whatever
All
happens,
right.
happens.
And eggs dropping
Then
today,
your
Tugs.
kids-
Go.
Then your kids will be within proximity and they'll be friends. And that's the big fantasy thing.
And
right?
I'll give birth in the States so that I can
Yeah.
Yes. Anchor baby.
Anchor babies. Yes. And then,
I want to say, because the other option is to marry some of my friends. See, I can marry Tugs or I can marry Kara easily.
You can do that. You can do that. No one will criticize it.
Mark, I don't know if we can find a guy for Mark
would
or a
love
girl.
it. Mark would love it if you married another girl for 15 minutes, so you could do that. He would love. He would love the idea that my girl's married to a girl, but married to me too. I think there's some kind of gland in me that just a guy that would like that too.
Most guys. For sure. So Kelley, do you have anything to promote? I think we do have your Twitter down below in the description if you want to follow him there. Yeah.
Oh no, nothing. I'm just always rocking and rolling. I just come here because it's fun.
Cool. I love that. Honestly, half the time I'm just like, tell me more.
Right? I'm just like
well, I like I said, I like to think that maybe I'd come up with something original, but a lot of it is what I had the wherewithal to listen to it and use it. Like I said, I did it because I was told to do it, and then it worked, so you keep doing it, you know. And that's where you realize someone's smart. When you're a kid, no one's smart, and then you get older, and you go, man, those old people, they knew something.
Darn them.
You know, I always used to say to my dad, why did you let me do this? Why did you? Because especially when I had kids. And those were my favorite answers because they were so sincere. And they would be, well, I could see, you know, he wasn't saying it's easy because I can see you on the other side of this now. He would just say, I could see where you were fully developed under that. You were engaged in it. You had passion for these things. And he had always felt those things kept you immune from the bad influences of the world. He's right. I didn't do all the crap a lot of my friends did because I didn't want to jeopardize all my hobbies and passions, or they would get in the way of it. And that didn't come from my dad saying, don't do drugs and don't do this and he encouraged all my loves. And I'm the one who said, I'm not going to do that. It's going to ruin what I'm doing, or it'll get in the way.
Yeah.
And because I was so passionate and because he encouraged it, my friends used to envy that. I'm like one of the few kids that my friends would go visit my parents when I wasn't there.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, they would go see them. I had a guy get a hold of me the other day. I hadn't seen him in a long time. And he was telling me all these stories about my dad, who he would see my dad when I wasn't there. I thought it was funny.
That's insane.
One of my kids' teachers was a friend of my brother's when he went to high school. I didn't really know him that well, but later on, I go to a 6th grade meeting to meet the teacher. He's telling me all about my dad. And I went, oh my God, you knew? And he says, oh yeah, I used to go over and da-da-da-da-da. And you tell me all about stuff my dad said and things, all that kind of shit. And I went, oh my God.
Full circle moment almost.
I love it.
It was just strange. But my kids, even now, a lot of their friends, they'll come over here and they like to hang out, or they'll come see, specifically, a lot of times they like to talk to Lynn. And it's that same thing. You can see that connection. A lot of them will remember things because we did so many eccentric things with the kids that they remember that too. And I always used to include them too. Any of their friends, I did the same things to them. If it was Halloween, I'd put on a mask and scare them, and or take them to go do fun things, and do the same thing my dad did. Now we're going to do something that your parents would say no, so no one tell on me.
Don't be snitching.
No snitchers. And, okay, they all said we want to watch a scary movie, and my parents won't let us. And I said, I'm going to let you, but if you get a crybaby nightmares and tell on me, it'll never happen again.
You're not allowed
So
inside the house ever again.
I made myself do what my dad made him one of us by doing those kind of
Yeah.
things. Okay. Because our favorite thing was don't tell your mother. That was when my dad would say, don't tell your mother, that usually meant we were going to get a donut before dinner. Right.
Oh.
So we'd all be driving home. He'd see the donut shop. He loved a good donut. Dinner was about an hour and a half away. We went in and got a donut and a drink. And that was do not tell your mother. So, there's a lot of those times where she said, absolutely, you're not to go out tonight. It's a school night, whatever. She'd go to bed. My dad would say, if you can go out and get in, I won't, just don't let your mother, you can go, but don't tell your mother. If you get caught, I'm not involved, but I'm letting you go. I'll cover for you. Well, yeah, we used to do that.
It's this like inherent respect between.
Well, he trusted because we'd already proved he could trust us.
Mm-hmm.
And once he knew we were doing the right thing, whatever, he'd let me go see a movie with my friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my mom would find out later on and she would lie and say, well, I would have let you do it. No, she wouldn't have let us do it. My dad, though, she was a sucker for my dad. My dad could get her to, she would get on him and then he would do this thing and she'd go, all right. You know?
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I love it.
But she used to always say to me, it was a house of boys and she enjoyed being in a house of boys. It was all that. And that's kind of what's happened to Lynn. She's in a house of boys.
I love boys.
Yeah.
So bad. So
that
bad.
means you're getting girls.
I know. I have a feeling
All
it's
girls.
karma coming back.
As long as somebody's got fast swimmers, you're going to have boys.
All right, Mark.
Just no tight underwear, then he'll be okay.
Oh my God. Alex, do you have anything you want to promote?
I now need to make sure we don't buy tight underwear.
Yeah.
But no, I don't have anything to promote.
You just buy them big boxers. That's what you do, and you have a better chance of getting a boy.
Boxers are just so bulky, though. I like boy boxer briefs, but just not too tight boxer briefs.
Okay, we need looser boxer briefs. Maybe a size up.
Well,
Get
considering
the ones
what
that
you're,
were those called sacks, the sacks ones.
it's a small sacrifice for those few months that you put up with. A small sacrifice.
I think it is a pretty small sacrifice in order to have a boy. Honestly, you'll save a lot of mental anguish.
Willed it.
Yeah, she did.
I'm gonna have boys.
She when she said that our second child was going to be a boy, my parents were with me. They were in my front room, and I believe she called, and they were waiting because I'd said she went to the obstetrician and they were going to do the thing and she would let me know. So my folks came over and my dad was having a cup of coffee and the phone rang and they were all so nervous. They're all like, what are we going to get? What are we going to get? And Lynn gets on the phone and she just says, I told you, 2 for 2. And so then at that point, I said, Mom, Dad, it's another boy. And it was like my dad's team won the Super Bowl and he got a lottery and there was oil coming up out of the backyard all at the same time.
Wow.
And I'd never seen him, like I said, he was always a happy guy or a smile, but I'd never seen him like that joyous. And he told me, he says, I said, Dad, you're even happier than me. He says, well, because this is my immortality. Now, whatever happens to me, it goes on. It just keeps going on. I'm immortal now. I don't care. Yeah, it moves on. And he said, that's why we love girls. They keep us immortal. We just don't have them, but we marry them.
Oh my goodness. Very, very, very true. But in any case, Kelley, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Pleasure. This was so fun. I can't wait to chat whenever that is next. And I will try to make it down to California one day.
You will.
I want to see those
will.
bones. Those
I
dinosaur
do
bones.
too.
Was it dinosaur? I forgot. It was dinosaur,
Yeah,
right?
there's dinosaur. There's all kinds of weird stuff.
Mhm,
It's just all
mhm.
the weird stuff from all the years collecting, you know.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. I
Yeah.
want to see it.
It's kind of cool after at the time you like it. It's like all my actual authentic Bigfoot prints. I don't know why I had to have them, but I went to a thing and the guy who made them, he was a anthropologist up in Washington State University. He was a professor and he was making these. And I just said, he says, I got so many. If you want some, I'll send them to you. And I said, no, I'll pay. He says, no. I sent him a donation for his department, but they were actual Bigfoot prints he had made in his studies. And I thought, man, and then I forgot about it. I forgot about him. And then you're my Bigfoot feet.
That's perfect. But yeah, one day we'll get there.
One day.
But anyways, chat, thank you so much for all those donations, super chats, being here, being in the chat. Appreciate you guys. And tomorrow we have Leanne Starr coming on 9 p.m. Eastern. So watch out for that. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Good
Bye.
night.